Alright, what is going on, guys? Spyful is back again, and I want to talk about the familiar shop that we actually got through the revamp when it comes to epic raids, which in my opinion is probably one of the better changes for epic raids because you can actually work on a bunch of stuff before the reruns of epic raids come back. So getting these familiars, in my opinion, will probably do you a good bit of justice, or at least will make your life a lot easier in the long run. So which familiars should you farm? In my opinion, going for the familiar that you like the most, whichever one looks cutest and you'll actually set as your familiar that you'll use for like all quests, you can do that. I would recommend going for that if that's your route. If you're just trying to look cute, that's fine. But if you're trying to look for utility and which ones are like the optimal or the best ones to farm, it's honestly going to be the upgraded pets that we actually have available. So first and foremost, I do want to talk about this Yuha. Yuha has a bind plus 10, bind damage plus 10, which means that when your allies get binded in one place, you'll actually be dealing 10 damage to that binded object thing that has your allies in place, and your allies cannot break out of it themselves. And the reason that I'm bringing Yuha up instead of the other bind damage pets is simply because the other bind damage pets are not very good. You'll see here with Jidambo, he does bind damage plus 5. You'll see here with Grimjow, bind damage plus 5. And for the most part, that seems to be the case with a lot of these damage plus 5. You'll see here with Renji, shield damage plus 5. There's another shield damage plus 5, which I'll pull up in a second. There we go, shield damage plus 5 with the Yoruichi. But you'll see here, when it comes to the newer pets, with the Siloporo, we have destructible object damage plus 5. Much better than the Menos Grande destructible damage plus 5, and Rukia destructible object damage plus 5, and then there's another Menos Grande, which also has the same thing. Here we go. So you'll see here, the Menos Grandes, as well as the Rukia, have destructible object damage plus 5. These are going to be the bombs that show up. These are going to be any type of bomb that you might see. Destructible object damage is going to be really, really good for a pet for that specific epic grade. But when Siloporo came out, we had destructible object damage plus 10, which makes these... they do stack, by the way, so you'll get damage plus 10 plus 10... you'll get destructible object damage plus 20 if you decide to run 3 of these pets. So working on a bunch of familiars might not be a bad idea, because you can roll full stamina damage boost plus 10%, full stamina damage boost plus 10%, so that you have a total of 20%. Or you could opt for like Bruiser plus, I think it's 7.5. I think it's Bruiser total of 15%. I might be wrong on that. I don't really use NAD characters anymore because with weakened defense, usually I tend to try to nuke as fast as possible. But NAD characters tend to be very, very, very good in those places. So if I told you guys to work on 3 different pets, honestly, I definitely have to recommend the Yuha for bind damage plus 10, the Siloporo for destructible object damage plus 10, and last but not least, I would recommend this one. Where is it? Here we go. Byakuya, Sea Traps. There are a couple other ones that are just like this, in my opinion, that are still very good. Let me do Counter Shields. So Sea Traps, Sea Counter Shields, these are all, in my opinion, very, 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 very good. I think that the soul traits, the familiar soul traits that are kind of useless, are going to be characters like Kisuke or... Let me pull up this one. So you have attract resistance plus 15%. This will stop you from being dragged to the boss. Honestly, usually the drag and the pushback when it comes to like knockback resistance, usually the pushback isn't so bad that you really need these familiars. They can help, but if you can get accustomed to the knockback and you can get accustomed to the attract from the bosses, I don't really see this being that big of a deal. So that's why I would recommend only going for the bind damage plus 10, destructible object damage plus 10. So Yuha, Siloporo, Byakuya, and Shrieker. These are very, very, in my opinion, necessary pets to have. If you have an ally, if you have 2 allies with destructible object damage plus 10, you probably don't need this familiar at all, which is probably why they try to buff this, because before it was literally just plus 5, and in my opinion, everyone really needed that pet, otherwise you would most likely fail. So I do expect a shield damage plus 10 to come out shortly. So these characters, the Yoruichi, as well as... No. Where are you? There we go. Where the Yoruichi shield damage plus 5 and the Renji plus 5, honestly, the only reason I wouldn't really recommend working on them yet is because if we get a new raid, chances are that familiar is going to have shield damage plus 10. if it's a new raid. And that's when I would recommend working on that character's familiar instead, and that'll be the current familiar that's currently available. In which case, you can work on a Yoruichi or Renji familiar preemptively. I don't really want to make a tier list because in my opinion, a lot of these pets are kind of useless. Like you have attract resistance, knockback resistance, blind resistance, and then knockback resistance, attract resistance, and here we go, some more knockback resistance. I feel like these are useless. The Toshiro that's currently out, in my opinion, is pretty good. Exchange familiars are at level 1 and have not been powered up in any ways. He has a Berserker plus 10% max, which I think is really, honestly, it's not really that good. I want to say it's really kind of irrelevant. I didn't want to say really irrelevant, but the damage is not really that significant. Most characters have Frenzy plus 2, then they'll scale better with Berserker 10%. But a character with like Frenzy plus 1, SP boost 80%, and Berserker of 40% or 30%, they're not going to make as much use of this 10% than someone with Frenzy plus 2. And the reason for that is just that Berserker 10% doesn't really scale all that well. That being said, giving this character full stamina damage boost plus 20% would obviously make him a better candidate than running something like attract resistance when the enemy has bind, for example, and doesn't really attract all that often, maybe 3 times per 5 minutes of the epic raid, right? So then you might want to just opt for a little bit more damage when it comes to this Toshiro. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. I don't think this video has to be all that long. My recommendations for familiars that you should work on are going to be just Yuha for the bind damage plus 10, destructible object damage plus 10 on the Silaporo. You could opt for the Toshiro, which is currently out, Berserker plus 10%. Now, honestly, like while you're farming this epic raid, completely worth farming. I wouldn't really concentrate on maxing out every familiar right away. The reason Aaron's doing that is because he wants to finish all the familiars that he didn't have finished. But keep in mind that this epic raid already shows that this is going to be an ongoing thing. So you'll be able to farm these later epic raids throughout the course of the year. And if you've been playing this game for longer than 6 months, you kind of already know this is a marathon, not a race. And yeah. So other characters that I would recommend working on are probably going to be, here we go, the Shrieker for the C counter shields, as well as Byakuya for C traps. These traps are hell of annoying, so farming for the familiar when it's current is a pain in the ass. So I would recommend farming and getting these C traps and C counter shields soon after you do the Silaporo as well as the Yuha. Let's see here. There's another one. Blind resistance. It says here plus 15%. Honestly, you see like this much. You'll only see like this much. It's really not that big of a difference. I don't think it's that noticeable unless you can stack it. And unfortunately, I don't believe that there are many blind resistance. I think he's the only blind resistance right now. And even then, I don't really see that. I don't really see it being that special. When it comes to character stats, you'll actually see here, Yuha gives you 70 SP, 50 attack, and then you also have characters like Kisuke who have 300 stamina, 50 attack, 50 SP. If you care more for attack, the characters you might want to work on are maybe Jidambo, because he has 62 attack, Shrieker has 58 attack, and Grimmjow has plus 70 attack. I think Grimmjow is currently the highest attack, as well as Grand Fisher. But in my opinion, like, they're not really necessary. This is completely negligible damage. If you're trying to min-max, I guess you can go for that. But I don't see it. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. Just grind on, catch up, remember, stay blessed. Like, comment, subscribe if you're new. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hopefully this video made you a little more aware of like the different types of pets that you have available, because more often than not people don't care about epic raids, but now that epic raids is literally the mecca when it comes to droplets and potions, it's kind of inevitable that you're gonna eventually farm there just because it's a faster way to farm. So yeah, Yuha, Silaporo, Byakuya, Shrieker, and then if you want to work on there you go. And then if you want to work on the Toshiro just for a little bit more damage for your SP characters, those are the 5 characters that I would recommend. Would I recommend working on all the familiars? If that's what you want, do you. But I'll leave it at that. Stay blessed, y'all. See y'all next one. Peace.